The ERB podcast is brought to you by the ERBcast YouTube channel. Though the creator of the channel isn't a participant, we'd like to thank him for allowing the channel to have the podcast reach an audience as well as helping with editing the episodes. I'm Pwner, ERB historian and owner of the ERB community Discord server and host of this podcast. The intro music is the instrumental to Filthy Frank vs. Eric Andre by Fight Marker, and the beat is linked below. You can check out our server in the description as well to join the community and get in on our conversations, and we may even have other members join in as guests for the podcast as well. Hello and welcome to the ERB podcast, the first episode that we have today. I'm Pwner, the owner of the ERB community and ERB historian, I would call myself. I'm also with RedInk Ribbon, second in command of the server. We're here today. We're going to talk about Epic Rap Battles of History and also the new content that they had, which was a demo of Naruto versus Spider-Man. So we'll have that in discussion. And of course, RedInk, you've seen it. I've seen it. The server saw it. They are really kind of mixed, more than anything, leaning negative. I know the comment section is like overall positive. There's really like a bunch of people just saying it's all fine. It's really good. We really need this to happen right now. And obviously we disagree. It really doesn't have to happen that way because we actually do prefer Hercules as the opponent, especially because Naruto doesn't really feel like, not that we're even like the type to say it should be just history, but really Hercules is preferable in terms of how the parallels between them that they have, they can talk about that. But also because, you know, Hercules is really important historically, and like to compare him to Spider-Man, I think that's why he's really the best fit. I know a lot of people have kind of had this problem with what Spider-Man opponent should be in ERB so that they can make the matchup for once because it's been so long, like a lot of people are requesting it. But yeah, if you want to give your thoughts as to what you think on this, and obviously that we're in agreement with Hercules.
I mean, I will admit though, the concept of this demo is pretty, well, it's a fascinating one, I will say. I mean, I much prefer this format over whatever shorts that they're kind of spewing out. But personally, though, because most of it's just throwaway suggestions that nobody can really. It's more divisive than anything, though, those shorts are. But I think this demo it's a neat concept, though, musically. I think it's nice. And it is kind of a way to kind of rejuvenate that flash in the pan style, which I really miss desperately a lot. I mean, I can't believe it's so bothersome that they kind of dropped that format so quickly, though, because it was such a fun concept. Yeah. And, you know, I love Flash in the Pan a lot. And even, like, I mean, that was the perfect way to utilize suggestions that they wouldn't even bother making. That's why I adore it so much. And in the case, well, I mean, I know Ronald versus BK ended up becoming a real battle, and that's justifiably so, though, because that was so popularly requested for so many years. And that's totally understandable, though. But something as minor and minuscule that doesn't deserve as much attention, I think that was an awesome. That was just an awesome concept to me. That's just genius. But something insignificant, you know, and not in a negative way, but it's just stuff that's not really worthy of their attention. Like they can make Freddy Fazbear versus Chuck E. Cheese, for example, and you know nobody would really bat an eye.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, because it started from PewDiePie versus T-Series, so requested. Like, I remember seeing it so often, like, well, I mean, it's obvious that they're not going to actually do it. And, you know, in a way, they didn't. They didn't actually make an ERB of PewDiePie versus T-Series. They made a Flash in the Pan battle concept of PewDiePie versus T-Series. And, you know, that one, I will say, like, I guess it's a hot take for me to say T-Series one, because really, I felt like they had the only disses to me. Like, PewDiePie just, like, had one. So I would say that being birthed from just that idea, yeah, it basically led to what could potentially be a line of, you know, ERB ideas that aren't really worth making as a battle, but are good enough as matchups for them to really go with it. Now, of course, as you said, Ronald versus BK managed to go beyond that because people did say, oh yeah, this is actually a great writing that you guys had. And where's Wendy? Like, you know, obviously the Wendy's really kind of partially the main reason that it became an actual battle, because they realized, oh, well, Wendy is actually popular online because of her roast tweets and whatnot. So why don't we just make the battle out of that? And, you know, a lot of people nowadays, especially within our server, in our community, they do say Wendy has the weakest verse. And really, I always did think that. I thought, man, they could have beefed Wendy more. That was unintentional, but they could have beefed her verse up more, much more. Because really, they had really good stuff between Ronald and Burger King. And really, they changed one line, which is the defeat line for Ronald. I thought that was better than what they had before, but then they changed the Burger King line to have to mention the ice cream machine broken, which I felt was a little weaker. I didn't really care much for how they could have phrased it better, is what I'm saying. But yeah, this these demos, if they're planning to make more, because I assume that this is like the first of many, I would say this is definitely an upgrade from the reaction shorts. They really, I couldn't stand these types of, like, just that they're like, oh man, we'll think about it. And it kind of led to discourse amongst us, because it always ended with certain ones ending up like, a lot of people just kept arguing because they think they already know so much about it, like Booth versus Oswald. That one was such a headache because, like, we already know, like, they're just assassins. They only shot one leader and they can't make, like, a really good battle out of it. And they even explained that. Like, Peter explained it a little, you know, not as clearly. And to me, it kind of shot himself in the foot the way he said it, because obviously a lot of people kept pointing out, oh, Hitler and Stalin were in your series, though. And, you know, it's obvious that they have their place in history, though. They are huge figures in modern history. Booth and Oswald, they aren't huge in history. They're just, like, you know, regular guys, and they shot, they're not even that regular. They are in a way psychopathic, but they just shot presidents, and that's really it. They're so one note. It's really bland. Peter could have made it more about them being bland and not interesting than, you know, just saying, but they're dicks. Because Lloyd did have the right thing. He's like saying, like, you know, that they feels more like something you make for your school project to try to like, you know, teach about them. And in their sense, they're not trying to, like, only teach. They're just trying to entertain more than anything. And Booth and Oswald just aren't going to be entertaining to, like, stretch out, like, oh, I killed this president, and like nothing else really. So that's why in the end,
yield any knowledge from either.
Yeah, really, because the shorts, like, why would they bring in Andrew Tate, like, and say, oh yeah, he has this type of character that makes you want, like, Peter said that he would approve of Andrew Tate in one, and a lot of people just went bonkers because of that. Like, there were so many people even defending, like, why Tate would work in one, like, oh, but they can use Trump. That's not an argument. That's not the right argument to go with. Peter is obviously, yeah, and he would be aware of the charges Tate had, you know, otherwise he would probably really be staying away, because when, just from Rick Sanchez being suggested in the shorts, he decided to bring up Justin Roiland, which I can kind of get. But if that's you're associating with just Rick Sanchez, the character, you obviously wouldn't want Andrew Tate in one, given what he did. But I don't think Peter is aware of it. And that's the thing, though. The real flaw of the reaction shorts is that they're really not, like, trying to be consistent on their thoughts. They're not really giving, like, this sort of, I don't want to say informed opinion, but rather more like they're not keeping up as to what they knew about previous shorts that they did. And then, you know, that goes on to contradict themselves in the next one. Like, Lloyd directly said, Captain America, there's too much Marvel going on nowadays, even though there's only like 4 characters that have really been represented. But in the next short, Catwoman versus Black Panther, he just says that they'll make it superhero AF. And that, at that point, how can you, like, seriously see that short and then the next short and think, wait, so does Lloyd like having Marvel characters, or does he not? Especially because Captain America isn't even, like, one of the MCU focused, like, he only got famous because of the MCU, basically. He was famous long before the MCU. He's one of the most recognizable figures in Marvel. So I don't know why Lloyd would want to go and say that comment. But yeah, as I said, as you said as well, these reaction shorts, they're just really nothing. Like, they can really, a handful of them were really just at least fine. Like, you know, Barbie versus He-Man, like, we preferred other ones for He-Man, but, you know, at least this one was tolerable. Daft Punk versus... Popular. Oh yeah, definitely. But also Daft Punk versus Simon and Garfunkel. Now, we want that one. It's on our list, actually, of matchups that we do want. But Lloyd, just, as I mentioned, he didn't have, like, the best comment to make on it. It felt like he actually was just, like, thinking randomly as to, like, what he feels. Like, it's just also contradictory as to him saying, you know, oh, Daft Punk isn't really on the level of Simon and Garfunkel. But, you know, Mozart was really at a higher level than Skrillex was. They still made that battle, and it's one of the most popular. So yeah, that kind of stuff, it's, like, really bothers him, obviously. It's to, like, you know, us and our server to no end, we've always brought that up. I feel like a lot of people could really be more aware of the fact. And there were people obviously flaming them in the comments because of it. But, you know, otherwise, yeah, this demo, at least, it gives us something. It's, like, something to chew on, basically. That's what I would say. I'd categorize this as ERB giving us something to chew on, compared to the reaction shorts, which you always put that Plankton with his holographic meatloaf gif, because it's like they're really giving us nothing whenever they do those reaction shorts. But man,
my
demos,
favorite.
Look, exactly. Yep. But the demo, it's look, it's something, and I will put it in a bit just to give us a breakdown. As I said, I think it's fine. I think the other people, that you and a few other members, they did say it's really not worth it. Like, obviously, don't think it's worth it. I just think that there was an attempt, And there is only one line that I think is actually like, to their usual writing, which is just the One Piece line. But it's so oddly formatted. I'll explain it in a bit when we get to the video. You were going to say something?
Well, oh yeah, so I was just gonna say that. Well, my main really huge gripe with this, format is that they're looking to either make it into a full battle, which I heavily disagree with. I don't think that should be in consideration at all because it's more divisive and it's going to yield in people who really don't understand what's going to go on with it. And it's either they don't make it at all. I mean, what's the point though? And they always say this. So I mean, it's if anything, it's more divisive though because what if people just want this? I mean, in the case for Spider-Man, I mean,
that's always been a hot
really
topic for like who he should be in an ERB. And in this case, as I said before, there are people who are just going to say blindly, like, yeah, this is actually great. I really want this to happen. Like, it should be one already. Are you guys making it? But in certain terms, they're going to always like, look into how they can extend the battle beyond that. Because obviously Ronald versus BK, they just had the writing already and they just made a few minor tweaks and then added Wendy, which really Wendy looked a little undercooked compared to them, and that pun was intentional.
Literally.
Yeah, really. Though, and yeah, if you look at the Wendy comment that they said it in the Patreon song, like they actually did take one line, which is like the breakfast croissants are worse than McGriddles, like that. But yeah, everything else, yeah, they really could have made Wendy a bit better. But
man, that fan lyrics had me weak. That was ridiculously
Booger King. Yeah, I don't know what
in every way.
Yeah, it was funny to look back on that, but
cheese had me weak.
Yeah.
Like, what was that?
So anyway,
oh yeah, that was hysterical.
All right, well, I'll go ahead and put in the video so that we can go ahead and look into it.
Yes. Oh damn! I should have added the Ronald versus Colonel Sanders comment because I know that variation of that suggestion was still around with BK.
All right.
Oh well, that's okay.
All right, I have the Spider-Man versus Naruto demo, so I'm gonna go ahead and break down based on the lines for each one that comes up. So go ahead. Yeah, Lloyd's just kicking it. It's kind of funny how he dances, I will say that.
With great power comes great responsibility. Luckily, you ain't shit, so don't worry.
All right, so with great power comes great responsibility. Luckily, you ain't shit, so don't worry. Yeah, this is a rather weak starter, I'd say, because on top of it being a little stretch of a rhyme, like it can work, but I think this is like responsibility, worry. It could have really just been ability. Like if you want to compare abilities, Spider-Man and Naruto, there could have been something with abilities. I'm not gonna come up with something like right off the top of my head, but yeah, that's other stuff. Agility, really, it could have flowed a little better than just that. But yeah, it's obviously it's using the famous Spider-Man catchphrase, with great power comes great responsibility. That obviously would be implemented in the battle. I just don't think this is the best way to really use it.
Yeah, no, I think it could be a lot more uniquely written, I'd say, because that's something integral to Spider-Man's character. So I think using that as an opening just doesn't seem too weak, or using it as a diss or any other way. I think you should utilize it in a way that's, how do I say it? I think, I don't know, with a phrase like that, you're gonna have to do it in a way that's kind of a, how do you say it? Making it parallel to what the other character is saying to the other opponent.
Yeah, definitely. Because some people tried to specify, like, man, Naruto and Spider-Man actually do have that responsibility in common. Now, I have zero clue as to what Naruto is besides he's a ninja. He fights with friends. I think Sasuke is like a rival to him. They're like frenemies, I think. I probably look really wrong on that. My only real experience with Naruto, like I saw the ads on Cartoon Network way back then. I don't think Cartoon Network would even air Naruto much nowadays because of like they
don't anymore.
Yeah, obviously, but it's like they also had to censor it. I know that because I recall seeing that like in a Nickelodeon magazine about how they had to censor like when he's on the toilet or something like that. But on top of that, I wanted to say how Naruto also like the only other experience I have with him is that I had a DS game that someone once gave me, which is like a bunch of mini games that's like the whole game. It's just a bunch of mini games, and I don't know what it was exactly. Was it fun? It was fine. But yeah, that's the only thing I can say about Naruto. I don't even remember the knowledge of him. Oh, yeah, and one thing I'll get into this with the battle itself. I don't think it gave me anything to really digest about Naruto either. Like they mentioned him eating noodles twice here. Yeah, okay, I can get that. I know he does eat a lot, like any anime character. But really, can you give anything else besides that? Like we'll go to the rest of these lines in depth, but I'm actually unsure as to what they themselves can really delve into Naruto, because obviously they didn't give us much based on this demo. Now the next line. Oh yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Oh no, I was saying, yeah, I don't know. I mean, it does kind of feel like they obviously don't know anything about. I'm not saying that they don't or they wouldn't try to, but judging by the anime characters they use in the past, though, I mean, in the case for Goku, they had to struggle with it because they had to do the research on their own, and that was a little bit of a tough pill to swallow.
I still think maybe Ray William Johnson helped a bit. I would say, because he seemed like the type of fan, like he was actually like asked to be Ash Ketchum before. So I think he is enough of a nerd to actually have helped with Goku possibly. But yeah, Ash, they had to bring in Cam and Matt Foryo, as you know, behind the scenes. So I mean, it worked out well for me. I'd say I like Ash versus Darwin. I even like Goku versus Superman. So I think those actually did turn out well, despite their lack of interest in anime in general. So now I don't know if they really did see Naruto, because that is a rather older anime compared to a lot of the other stuff that they've been getting as requests, like JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Now I think they did directly say Dragon Ball, they actually didn't know before when Goku was requested, and Pokemon he actually didn't know much of anything, like Peter or Lloyd, I believe. So yeah, if they know that much about Naruto compared to them, I can see if that's possible. Like I can see it happening, is what I mean. But like I said, there's really not much substance as to Naruto's side on this.
That's right.
Yeah. All right. Now next line, finally.
Naruto, the most uncommon in a group. I'm the top ramen, eating jaw common, squash a beef with my feet sound bomb.
Okay, so this is quite a lot of flow, like, because this is Lloyd's just going off. This is cool, but I've said this before. Lloyd sounds like he's more doing a freestyle live stream, because he did that pretty often way back then, a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
That fits for his style, but it doesn't fit for the actual ERB like writing or substance that you normally get from it. And I also said this sounds more like fan-made territory rap battle, because a lot of people try nowadays in the fan-made community. They just keep flowing and flowing, and it's cool. They add references that definitely does help, but it also doesn't really give a lot of like oomph to it. This is particularly sometimes they really need to be clever, and they just kind of like put in words to flow and sound cool, but that's Lloyd's not doing that to the extreme, but it's kind of like getting there. So when he's saying like Naruto, the most uncommon, it's in a group, I'm the top ramen eating, shot calling, squashing beef with my feet, sound bombing Japanese teen. And I don't think Naruto's is actually Japanese, but obviously like they keep doing this thing where like well, Goku in his battle, he had like who's got the rap bombs to drop on Japan. So yeah, I don't think they're actually from Japan. They're just like referencing that anime is from Japan, which I think is really not enough. Like this, in this case, is kind of just going with the flow, but I really don't feel like it's like, actually accurate to the character of how he would go. It's kind of just like Lloyd trying to think of Naruto rhymes, and it kind of doesn't like come off as too well compared to his other impersonations. Obviously, it's not that Lloyd has to be 100% trying to be a teen like Naruto, but he is just kind of like being himself right now more than anything.
Yeah, it doesn't really feel too much playing to the character, which I'm not really expecting this to do, though. I mean, this is a demo after all, so I mean,
yeah, more than anything, as a demo, I think as a demo, it will like show that there are rough patches to the process, that they'll just like write anything and see how it goes. But we'll get to the parts that really kind of like put us on edge as to what can happen with this. But because I think it's actually in the next one. Hold on.
Bomb, Japanese teen, lethal on the battlefield, make you leave behind your fallen.
Yeah, lethal on the battlefield, make you leave behind your fallen. Now, I'm not sure if that's actually a reference, or I don't know if you caught anything that would relate to Spider-Man. You, more than anyone, knows so much about Spider-Man. I think I'd say you're probably the #1 Spider-Man fan of ERB fandoms. Hey. Really, Stealth could be the only one on your level, but besides that, I don't know if there's anyone else who could really compare, because you know so much about it. But now, lethal on the battlefield, make you leap behind your fallen. I don't know if that's like a reference to a comic or anything.
Leap behind your fallen. Leap behind your fallen. I can't really tell what that's really referencing, other than leap behind your fallen. I mean, is that really?
Well, it could be something Spider-Man on Naruto's side.
Mm-hmm.
I would
what I'm
say.
thinking too. I mean, Yeah, it's a little bit weird to stretch. I don't know, maybe looking too hard into it. I mean, because looking man, you're falling.
Yeah, but that's the thing, though. Even though this is a demo, it still feels very much like filler lines, and I think it's kind of that Naruto doesn't have much that they could actually write for. That's why I'm thinking they can go with the basic information, mentioning ramen and all, but anything about, his actual powers, because I know there's a lot of Naruto powers. Obviously, someone more geeky than me can, understand as to what Naruto really does and has as fighting abilities, but they didn't really reference much besides saying, like, he's lethal on the battlefield. Cool, but, how? What else can you give from that? Now, obviously, in this sense, they kind of had to end it on a high note. So, I will say his last line is the best, but it's like right now there was just a bunch of filler, kind of not too much to really feel the character Naruto. So I'll go ahead with the last line.
Okay.
My dopeness senses ain't tingling. Man, jumping off a building is the only way you're going out swinging.
Yeah, my dopeness senses ain't tingling. You jumping off a building is the only way you're going out swinging. That is a cool line, but it can also apply if this was Hercules versus Spider-Man. I can see Hercules making that kind of comment, but to me, this really didn't capture Naruto much else besides him just listing off a bunch of things that he could do. Eat ramen. And Japanese team a little wrong, but I'll accept it. Even then, it's not much to really feel that they got Naruto completely right. Now, I would say Peter's obviously is more of an improvement to try getting into Peter Parker's character, but, and we'll get to that in a bit. I just think this, going out swinging, clever line, it would definitely apply for, Spider-Man's opponent to say it. But if that's really like the best part I can really grasp, and everything else before that was really like, nothing to really get into my brain, is like, oh man, that's a cool line. Like, I just feel that definitely could use more on the chopping block. But in any case, that's why we kind of also have the problem with this matchup. It's really not the best in the sense for Spider-Man.
Yeah, no, not at all. I mean, I don't really see much of substance with the lyrics in this at all. I mean, there wasn't really anything that was anything attacking Spider-Man per se either, besides that very last line, which, yeah, I guess is kind of cleverly written, but I mean, whatever Naruto said prior to that was just kind of just insignificant. So it's just, yeah, I don't know. This is not really my forte of this. It's just he's just kind of rapping, really. Like,
yeah, cool freestyle and flow
this
and all.
This is a demo, though. So,
exactly.
Yeah. That's right. The flow is excellent. Like, don't get me wrong.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like, we can compliment that at least, but I don't really want the flow to be the best part of ERB, because I want it to be more about the clever writing, that this is how they can integrate references and make it, the matchup really hold up well. Because I feel like when people say, ERB really, I don't get back to them, they kind of fell off to me. It's because they are missing those kinds of ingredients, really. And I feel like, sometimes some battles will have them, but then there's, few and far between filler lines that really make it feel more like it's kind of like this. Like, to me, even though this is a demo, this feels more on line with, Lenin versus O'Reilly, if anything, than it would Goku versus Superman. So that's what I really would say.
Well, this Naruto didn't say, how much he wanted to suck his dick.
Yeah, that's a crazy. Like, well, okay, if ERB should really just retire the suck my dick, these nuts jokes. Like, seriously, it's the 2020s, please.
Man, I don't know, man. I don't know how they managed to keep that up for so long in their battles. It's kind of ridiculous. It's hilarious, though. The fact that they still, I have to give them kudos for that, though. It's funny, the fact that they're still doing it, but man, you think they would kind of get bored of those by now.
Yeah, or they realize, something about genitals again. Maybe we can rewrite that one, because it was Peter who said, you're trying to find a rhyme for erection. But I just wouldn't want Rambo's verse to end on yet again a these nuts joke. So, and it's Peter playing him, so I would assume he had a hand in writing.
Yeah, that is pretty funny to think about. But yeah, I was gonna mention real quick before we get to Spider-Man. I'm assuming, Spider-Man.
Next.
Oh yeah, there is something that I do have a gripe with this one, is that you can't really tell who the hell is rapping, though.
Yeah, at first,
the characters.
You're thinking it's Spider-Man, maybe, because with great power comes great responsibility. Then he lists Naruto, and then you're thinking, so is he gonna talk about himself, or is he gonna like diss Naruto? Like, Naruto, you're the worst Shonen Jump, whatever. I don't know. But yeah, then Peter actually clarifies that. Well, I mean, Lloyd kind of did before, with the last line at least. But then, Peter makes it clear. I grab the mic with my sticky grip. So we're about to get to this line, starting Peter Parker's verse now. played by Peter. Right. And now Pete, as we both know, Peter did say before, I think it was years ago you said, but that you noticed he said he has like this issue of playing Spider-Man because he wouldn't want to wear the tights. I mean, the easy fix right there is get Deadpool's body actor to play Spider-Man. He can do the flips and all.
Yes. Oh yeah, that's not a big deal at all. I mean, he wouldn't mind playing Spider-Man. Come on,
have to see,
Spider-Man is like a privilege, dude.
Yeah, and really, Peter Parker has been adult, so it's not like Peter has to like try to sound the same way he did with Luke Skywalker, try to sound a little younger than he is. Like he can just do the regular voice. I don't know if he can do it like too much. Like obviously sometimes Peter just doesn't change his voice. He can probably try something to make it at least sound different for Spider-Man if he ever voices him. Anyway,
I don't know. I mean, Peter looks, he doesn't look anything like Peter Parker, let's be real. But I mean, he has enough of a stature built to look like Spider-Man enough to warrant that suit. But
the suit.
Even if he does it though, I mean, he doesn't sound like any of the Spider-Man in media at all. Like he doesn't sound anything like Toby, Andrew, or Tom's. Like not even close. So, but yeah, this is my 2 cents. But if it definitely Robert to be Spider-Man, and Peter can just do whatever he wants, I guess. So hey.
Anyway, now to start, finally get into Spider-Man's first. So.
I grab the mic with my sticky grip and swing into the cipher. The web sniper, laying it down like Peter Piper.
This is an alright start for the first line at least. I grab the mic with my sticky grip and swing into the cipher. Yeah, that sounds like something Peter could say in a rap. But after that, the web sniper, cool internal rhyme. Laying it down like Peter Piper. I do kind of get that, innuendo line. I don't think it's the most clever. It's kind of like, a little oddly worded to like kind of just make another internal rhyme. It's fine, but, the first line was already a better choice than what we got afterwards.
Yeah, it's, it's just kind of a way to just put another Peter reference in there. I mean, that's kind of evident.
Yeah. All right, and then after that...
Down like Peter Piper, I picked a peck of pickled eggs to plop in ramen noodles. My marvelous comic style stops on manga doodles.
Yeah, so I feel like there's no reason to really, say this just happens to get made. I don't think I picked a peck of pickled eggs to plop in ramen noodles. Like, okay, cool alliteration, but it was, 3-4 battles ago now that Mansa Musa did David Pecker picked a pick of your, it's hard to say, but you know what I mean, picked a peck of your Peter picks. That's already been done, so I feel like there's no reason to really kind of try that. They can rewrite this one definitely to plop in ramen noodles, obviously going back to the how Naruto eats noodles. But after that, my marvelous comic style stomps on manga doodles. Now it's actually getting to a more clever territory of how they do the wordplay. Obviously Marvel, obvious, but stomps on manga doodles. I do like the way they integrated that type of rhyme. But it's kind of obvious, like, comics versus manga. I feel like that's not really the actual connection, but that is something you can say in the battle. Obviously, since Goku versus Superman didn't make use of it, this one does for the demo at least.
Yeah, and I don't really think that many... Actually, as a matter of fact, none of the characters until Thanos has actually made a Marvel, name drop Marvel in a lyric before.
Yeah,
so
at most, Stan Lee did say, "I'm a Marvel of a party pooper." That's really it. But yeah, it's first time was Thanos just saying that. Although even then, we do have our own gripes with Thanos as well. Thanos is a little too product placement type of character where he's, talking about, in the second verse, just how he box office topper, which is cool. But then he just goes to the Thanos copter, goes to Fortnite's dopest dancer. We have a lot to say with that one. But it's really I think Spider-Man can be done more justice, much more than Thanos. I just don't see the reason as to why Thanos left such a sour note on, wanting more Marvel characters because, a lot of people kind of point to him, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, he's like the most primary victim of disinterest in Marvel, people's disinterest in Marvel characters in ERB. So, which is kind of unfortunate. I mean, geez, because you would think, we got Wolverine within the same season. So, and
he was done
this
justice.
is kind of questionable. Yeah, that's because Lloyd was such a massive fan, which I'm super thankful for. Oh my god, I could not be any more grateful for that. I'm so glad that was the season premiere. That was awesome. So, but yeah, Thanos was wow. I don't even know how to describe that at all.
Yeah,
but
right.
Hopefully we get another character that could definitely wash out the whatever that was with Thanos. So because man, you guys need to step it up, man. The Marvel characters, well, these the ones that are actually worthy, okay?
Yeah,
so,
definitely.
Anyway.
Next.
This comic style stops on manga doodles. Your plots are thin like bikinis. I prefer a one piece. I'll take your 9 tails and I'll pin them on some donkeys.
Oh man, this we go from the best line of this demo to what is one that made me kind of groan when I heard it again. I'm like, seriously, that's what you're going with? Because man, this is actually really cleverly written. Your plots are thin like bikinis. I prefer One Piece. Yeah, that's good. That's actually like the first time I'm thinking in this demo, wow, that actually sounds like a good joke. But man, to go from that to I'll take your Ninetales and I'll pin them on some donkeys. Like I don't know what he's trying to go off of from that, because that's not a real diss. Like, oh man, I'll take your Ninetales, pin them on some donkeys. Like yeah, something that kids' birthday parties use. That's a really strange reference. I don't see how this is really a reference to anything between them, unless it's like Naruto has donkey friends, maybe, that I'm not aware of. That's really the only thing I can see working. Like, I see One Piece as a good, great diss and pun. And I think it's one of those where I think, yeah, ERB would write this. A fan-made battle would probably kind of do it differently, maybe even mess it up a little, but yeah, this is definitely ERB's type of lyrics. I just think what he says afterwards really ruins it, really bogs it down.
Yeah, that was not gonna lie, I'm not gonna hold you. That was a little bit on the line of the battle I absolutely despise the most. What did you just rage at a Barney themed party? I'm not even bullshitting you. That sounds very similar to that.
Oh wow, you are kind of right on that. I can get that. But I was also thinking, your plots are thin. Reminded me of Wonder vs. Wonder, which is another matchup that we actually don't like at all, and also included a comic book hero. But I will say this one, it didn't feel like it was like reusing it the same way. Like, plots so thin, even I can see through. But this one is, your plots are thin like bikinis. Now that actually does fit for them using it like that, because bikinis being that thin. But then I prefer One Piece. Like, to me, that's just actually clever writing. And it's like the only standout in this whole demo, I have to say. Sorry to Peter and Lloyd, but this is like the only line I can really get behind. And then anything else, I really couldn't. And as I said before with this next line, I really just, yeah. But I'll go ahead with the next one to end this out.
Ninetales and I pin them on some donkeys. You're a scrub like Brillo, overhyped like Zillow. The softest thing from Japan since waifu pillows.
And that's where it ends. Because I really, really also have gripes with that, what he said afterwards. I could not stand that. When I found out you're a scrub like Brillo, is that like a reference to something? No, Brillo is a scrubbing, like to wash dishes or something. It's something to scrub. Is that really, like, I don't know. Like, that he's just listing things. Overhyped like Zillow. What? I'm sorry, how did they relate?
Yeah, that didn't make any sense. I don't understand the context. It's just so misplacement. It's like a Billy Mays commercial.
Yeah, it's strange.
What, does Spider-Man have a side job now? I didn't even know that.
Yeah, I do in real estate, apparently.
Christ. Apparently so. Geez, and whenever he's not superheroing, beating Venom or Green Goblin or any other antagonist he has, he's out there making some product cleaning placements.
Yeah, I'm like, really, this is how they're just go off of like illo rhymes. Illo, what are some products that rhyme with illo, guys? No, that's not what it should be. Because look, the softest thing to come out of Japan since waifu pillows, it's fine. I do think it can deliver as a diss. It's a little like kind of generic to like just apply it to an anime character, especially one that isn't really known for waifus or anything. Like I think there's like just a couple famous female characters from Naruto. One where like her eyes are completely blue, I recall, and the other one is like pink haired, and that's it.
Yeah, I forgot her name. I know it's like Hinata or whatever the hell. I don't even know. It's been a while since I've seen the anime, and I'm not really into anime at all. So I know Sakura is one of them, and the main characters with Sasuke. So that's as far as I know. It's been a while. I don't know. I know nothing about Naruto because it's been a while, and I don't care. I don't care to be knowledgeable either.
Yeah, so. Funny thing is, one thing that ingrained in my mind is that I recall how there was like one Naruto commercial about how their the master character, I forget his name. I recall that there's an episode where he takes off his mask and it's like a big reveal. I didn't get to see that, but I remember seeing a commercial for that episode and I found it funny.
What was his name? Kakashi? I don't know.
Kakashi. I don't know. Thank you. How do you know this better than me? You don't even like anime.
I watched a few episodes. Yeah, okay. I watched a few episodes when I was younger, and I was kind of into it for a little bit. I'm like, this is kind of stupid. I kind of don't like this.
Yeah, but anyway, our thoughts on the demo really overall. can be summed up as this could have been a lot better. There was at least one standout line. It's cool. Just please don't make this. This really shouldn't be the matchup that they go for Spider-Man. And really, I don't think we have anyone better for Naruto. I know, what is it? Hattori Hanzo, I believe, famous historical ninja, is like the only matchup we've seen for Naruto that can kind of fit. There's also Samurai Jack, which you actually recently preferred Mulan versus Samurai Jack. So even then, maybe it wouldn't work that way.
Right.
So yeah, Naruto, we really could just leave off. Like, I know Peter and Lloyd kind of can struggle with anime things to research. But really, if you want to know the best 3 anime suggestions for ERB, it's Light Yagami versus Maximilian Robespierre, Jack Sparrow versus Monkey D. Luffy. Obviously, One Piece was mentioned, so there's him. And we would go with He-Man and She-Ra versus Sailor Moon. Like, those are the 3 that I would say would work best. Better than Naruto being included one. Really, Naruto is somewhat similar enough as a anime style character to Goku that I would say it's not that we really need him. But we also could say the same with Yugi because they had Ash catch him. But Yugi at least does have Ramses, but with both of them being pharaohs. So that, at least to me, sounds more interesting than just having Naruto and randomly with Spider-Man just because of loose connections over them being heroes.
Yeah, and there's really nothing more to really gain out of this, or really there's no parallels at all between these characters, and it's not really my preferred. It's just not. It's just I just think it's really loose and kind of lame. It's just really lame. Really.
Yeah, and if you want to let loose your Spider-Man side, really, there's a lot that could be brought up when you think Spider-Man, and they just didn't have it here. There's J. Jonah Jameson. There's Mary Jane. There's Gwen Stacy, really. There's the movies in general, what made Spider-Man popular among everyone, really. MCU, the Spider-Man deal that they had with Sony, Spider-Verse, Miles Morales. Like, really, I'm just listing off things, and you're the one who's the expert, so you can list more than I can.
Yeah, 6-Arm Frenzy, Sins Pass, One More Day, especially. That's hurtful.
Sinister Six.
Oh yeah, them too. Let's see. Uncle Ben's death is.
Oh man, I'm surprised there's no Uncle Ben's death even brought up. Like, yeah, with great power comes great responsibility. Yeah, that's obviously attributed to him. But more than anything, Uncle Ben dying is always a meme within Spider-Man fans. So, like, they could have just had that as a clever diss. Like, Naruto is really lacking in disses. Spider-Man had some in the battle, but in this demo at least. But really, it wasn't much to really make it a great battle to go with. So yeah, if in anything, our feedback is just this really could have been done better. I think it's fine. You think it's rather, meh. You really could go for Hercules versus Spider-Man. And yeah, I wish if these demos keep going, they can, make it a little more substantial. Like, let people know you understand the characters well enough to do the battle justice. And I think that's really the note we can end on. Like, that's what ERB can sometimes lack in certain fictional characters. And it's sad because a lot of them are really worthy of appearing in a battle. It's kind of funny, Bill and Ted were written really well. They really had one of the best potential uses in an ERB. But that's really more from Peter and Lloyd, both loving the characters. Now compare that to Thanos, where they obviously just wanted him for the clicks. And they just had him reference, like, Fortnite because he was in it. And, a bunch of other things that really, obviously the Patreon had helped. We're aware of that they did just add in random things that they could have him say. But yeah, I know people, certain fans will say, fictional characters aren't their forte. And to that, I can agree. But at the same time, it's because ERB doesn't really have these types of, they weren't ingrained with these characters unless it's something from like the 80s, such as Bill and Ted and Terminator. That's something everyone's familiar with and you can be a fan. But Peter did seem to say that he does love Spider-Man. I would hope that he knows how to actually write in certain references, as you mentioned, a lot of things that could be said about him. And if they're still going with the Patreon having help with that, I don't know if they mentioned anything about in the behind the scenes for Ford versus Marx. I don't think they actually said much about the Patreon having a hand in writing that one. So I'm actually unsure as to whether or not they did put in some lines anyway. But then again, it's probably been so long for them that they probably don't even remember it. But yeah, if this actually manages to get made for a Spider-Man battle, at least there are some lines that could work for it from this demo and other ones that really should be left out of it. But yeah, that's pretty much what I'd say in regards to this whole thing.
There is something I wanted to mention real quick, and I do think that the underground New York City beat does seem pretty fitting for Spider-Man.
Oh yeah.
I'm not gonna lie to you because it sounded pretty catchy, and it does flow, and it does intertwine well with Spider-Man. And I'd imagine he would have some type of underground beat, and what's I'm gonna call it? No, that's how I would imagine he would, rap alongside with. Although I wish it was a lot more inspired, because Spider-Man represents the heroic side of him.
Speaking of Marx versus Ford, I did say how that one actually did have 90s hip hop beat vibes, and I think it was done really well. Now this one, when I first heard it, I thought, yeah, this beat's a little simple. I still do think that, but it is good for the New York style. But it's not like New York State of Mind's type of beat. It's like a little less than that. Little minimalist, I'd say. They could definitely choose something else because, even if Spider-Man's known as a New Yorker, I think his beat should really be something more grandiose, more, a lot more to it, make it sound, more stand out than just, the standard hip hop beat that you were saying this one fits to. It does go well with him, but maybe if there's like a mix that they can do as to what I described with something like that, maybe it'll work, but we'll have to see. Hoping that Spider-Man does get a good battle, that they do him justice, and we'll have to leave it for the next time. Whenever they have a new battle coming out and there's other things to talk about, we'll go with other episodes, of course, in the podcast. We'll see how it goes. And I think we'll also try to start other breakdowns of actual ERBs. You could start in chronological order, go from there. But that's what we'll be planning for in the future.
Yes, this is a pretty interesting pick. Not not too thrilled with the matchup at all. I mean, I hope they really take into consideration that, I feel genuinely though, I do feel that Hercules is the proper opponent, and to see this get made would be very, very disappointing. And I'm just being dead honest. I just don't really like this matchup. I just don't.
I get that.
This is not really fitting. It's just not. It's just I just see looseness everywhere, more loose than Spider-Man's webs himself.
Yeah, and that really just applies to every other Spider-Man idea. Like really just a few, like Spider-Man versus the Tick. It's a funny one. I don't think the Tick really works for ERB characters, but like that's already better than any other Spider-Man ones I heard of. Like Franz Kafka, Mary Curie, I really don't care for them. Peter Pan is honestly the worst between us. Like we agree on that.
Oh, it's universally hated, pretty much, just about
among the server.
Most
at least.
of it, though, at least. Yeah. Well, at least the most of us don't really like that at all. It's just I don't even know what was going on with that. It's so stretching. It's so ridiculous, that one. It's kind of insulting, really, to the character. Mostly Spider-Man, but like that's a really now at that point you're really doing a huge disservice to one of the biggest characters in fictional history. This is insane to me. Like no, and then there's Tarzan, which now I also don't like that at all. It's also threatening on on very basic connections, because I mean there's almost no connection there either. I'm sorry, this is not.
Yeah, just that they're swinging on certain things, vines and webs, which is a little loose. It's really not too much. Like I guess I don't mind it because back then I thought it was fine. Now I do see that it's like a little too, kind of held together by string and duct tape.
Yeah, really. It's just I wouldn't have minded if it had happened, in its heyday. I wouldn't have minded because at least we would have gotten Spider-Man. It would have definitely seized all complaints of having him not in a battle. So, to me, I think Hercules just matches him in every single possible way where I just don't really complain about it. But even if hypothetically Hercules versus Spider-Man happens, people are going to be satisfied either way because it's Spider-Man.
Yeah,
and so like no matter what though, and so it's just really disappointing that people just can't really get too on board with it, which is understandable. Hey, that's totally cool, but. I just Hercules versus Spider-Man is the one, to me at least, and and yourself, and that's just my overall thoughts. Really, it's just hope it's Hercules. Really, we could go for some more history versus fiction stuff. I really I really love those type of matchups a lot.
Yeah, so. And plus, even if Hercules isn't obviously a real person, counts as fictional. He's more mythological more than anything. And I know mythological characters are counted as somewhat of a fiction. I would still say he does have such an importance in history as to who he was for stories and Greek mythology that I would say it's basically just history versus fiction, just that one just happens to not exist. I think it's still cool. Definitely a lot of parallels they can pull together and make lines out of. Like really, there's quite a lot of Hercules lore that can really be contrasted to Spider-Man, how he dealt with his stories. Like there's quite a lot that they really went through, tragedies and all. So I would love that matchup.
Yep, same here. I really have no complaints with it. I really don't. That's just easily how I see it. And it could be awesome, though. It really could, if they just give it a chance. And I hope it gets considered. I desperately hope so. That's easily one of my top suggestions of all time. I mean, coming from just me being a Marvel fan overall, it's just I've always wanted this character in, and the fact that he hasn't been in is just it's always why hasn't he been? Well, it's really this is like it's stuff like Naruto versus Spider-Man is the reason why he's not in one. So
Yeah.
I'm just I'm being serious. Like it's just insane to me.
Yeah, people just can't decide on it, but really, we kind of already decided it's really Hercules that's the best fit. You can disagree, obviously,
that's right.
But like we just can't see any reason to think a different matchup would work for ERB especially.
That's right. Yeah, I feel that this is the one. There's no other. There's nothing that really slows it down, or nothing that really there's any other diminishing qualities that shouldn't prevent it to happen. So
yeah.
I mean.
Of course, now that this episode's ending now, it's very fitting that we're starting off with, Spider-Man ERB demo when I'm Dr. Octagonopus and you, of course, have your Spider-Man logo.
That's right. That is pretty hilarious. I just love his little smug look.
Yeah, because we aren't really we weren't planning to really start it so soon, but this came out just a couple of days ago, and we decided, yeah, this is really what we can start off with, like good opportunity. Until next time, though, we'll see what else there is to talk about. There's probably like quite a lot of things in ERB fandom that I can really pull from and just talk about for an hour or so. But until then, I'll go ahead and sign off. It's been nice talking to you, Red.
All right, yeah, it's been nice talking to you as well.
All right, until next time, see you.
Farewell.